Okay, you guys, today on Boss Bitch Radio, fun interview with Coach Adam at Team Elite Physiques. I know some of you also listen to his podcast, which if you're not, you need to go over and listen, which is Bikini and the Brain with his amazing co-hostess with the mostest, Ashley Kaltwasser. Well, today we had some really good coach chats just back and forth about what it takes to become a successful bikini competitor. What are some common mistakes bikini competitors make? How he determines an ideal stage weight, body composition for athletes, what parameters he uses when he decides if an athlete is ready for nationals. We talk about a very controversial topic, which is gaining weight in the off season. So we had some fun rants on that. We also talked about what happens when a client has a snacksident. What do we do when that happens? And then we wrap it up at the end and give you great advice if you are new to competing or interested, and some feedback and some tips on how to get started. So dive in. Let me know what you think on the socials. Share this with a friend, y'all. Share it with a competitor friend or someone who's curious, and enjoy the show. Boss Bitch. Boss Bitch. Welcome to Boss Bitch Radio, Coach Adam.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm excited to have you here today. So for those that are new to the podcast, welcome. And if you do not know who Coach Adam is, he is the head coach over at Team Elite Physiques. He also is the host with Miss Ashley for Bikini and the Brain podcast, which is a very, very popular podcast here in the bodybuilding world. So I'm very excited to have you on. Thank you for coming today and being willing to share some bikini thoughts with me. I'm very excited. I know my crew is very excited.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I like these. I like doing these every once in a while. I don't get to do enough of them just because of time constraints. Right. So I was happy when you wrote, because sometimes people will email me and ask me, and I'll be like, yeah, I'll do it. Then I'll just like, oh, I can't do it this week. Then we just lose base. So
right.
I was like, let's just do it. Let's do it now.
Yes, and you're a busy man. So I was like, I'm doing it. I'll throw all the other things to the side for today. Totally. And we had a chance to work together last year too. So I know I did talk about that on my podcast last year too. So I had a great experience before I hung up my heels. So that was really great to work with you and your team and everything. So,
well, thanks. Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun getting, getting your insight on that and all that too. Try to get better and learn and grow and get, create the best product possible. So yeah.
Well, you guys are crushing it. So I think you're doing it.
Yeah, I think we are. I think we're doing pretty good, for what the goal is, So
yeah. So I wanted to dive into a lot of bikini talk today. I know you work primarily with bikini athletes. Do you have any wellness athletes yourself personally right now, or just all bikini?
Yeah, I got a couple myself as well, but I am primarily bikini. We have 3 bikini pros on the team as coaches. And so that's basically our 2 things we do is bikini and wellness. And that's pretty much our area of expertise. We have, I would say 95% of the team is bikini or wellness, with about, 85% of them being bikini. I would say that would be the case, We have some clients that kind of, they grow from bikini and then they grow out of bikini. So we do wellness with them. Mm-hmm. And some will grow out of bikini and they're better for figures. So we'll still keep them and whatnot too and work on them. But but for the most part, we're bikini specialists. So
yeah. And I think it's great to be super niched in a specific area of bodybuilding, because you can really hone in and focus, and like your sword is very sharp in that division and really crush it, which you guys are doing wonderfully. So I think that's a great way to dive in for coaching for sure.
Yeah. You kind of, it's funny because someone asked me that, why did I pick bikini? And I was like, I didn't pick bikini picked me.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, I was doing all bodybuilding before because there was no bikini. There wasn't anything besides bodybuilding. And so all I did was bodybuilding. And then men's physique came around. Well, then bikini came around, then men's physique came around. And I remember in 2011, I think it was, and even 2012, it was still like mostly a men's team. It was like, I think there was one show I had like 12 people in Denver, and 10 of them or 11 of them were guys, like men's physique. And there was like one girl, and she was figure. And then the next show after that, I had some bikini girls. And I was like, okay, cool. Like we'll start doing more bikini stuff, because it was super rare where I got bikini even in 2000, like 11, 12, right? It was just like, it was relatively new. People were still figuring it out. And it was still very much not a like bodybuilding division. It was very casual fitness model division back then, where it wasn't,
yeah,
it wasn't super jacked like it is now. Didn't require that much specialty, so that much expertise to do that. And then we had Colorado State, and I had a girl named Lauren Atkins back then. It was like 2012, and she ended up winning Miss Colorado, and everything was very local back then. We didn't have, there wasn't a lot of online coaching. I wasn't even online coach in 2012. Like I just started doing some things like on Facebook with clients. It was like not like an online thing, it was relatively, that was a whole new thing. Everything was very around your gym. Like you were like, oh, I was the guy in Denver type of thing.
Yeah.
And so we did Colorado State with Lauren, and then I had 3 other girls in different divisions, and we ended up winning like 4 out of the 6 divisions that year. And I was like, man, I'm killing this bikini thing. But I was doing good in both men's physique and bikini. And then after we won that, I started getting all these bikini girls from Denver. Like it was crazy. The bikini just exploded, right? And so I was like, man, and then all of a sudden it went from earlier part of the year going 10, 11 out of 12 being guys to at the end of the year being like 20 and like 18 of them being girls. Like it was all, I was like, am I doing bikini now?
Bikini chose you, Adam.
I think that year I won 7 overalls, and there was only
Amazing.
11 shows in Denver. It was something like that. And I was like, man, I'm crushing this bikini thing. Maybe I should kind of focus on this,
Right.
And then one thing led to another, and then here we are, but bikini is its own art form. You really need to focus on it and specialize in it, because you see bodybuilding coaches who try to do bikini and they just don't understand it and they get worked. And then you get like bikini more artists and coaches who do well, so.
Yeah. And that's actually a really good point. Well, one of my questions that I had for you as far as bikini goes is when you are doing like a physique assessment, or you have a client that's interested in doing bikini, what are you looking at as a coach as far as factors for them to be successful in bikini?
Well, so if I'm doing like a regular physique assessment on someone who's just trying to go to an NPC level, it's a lot different than someone who's saying, there's different things. So if someone says, hey, I just want to compete and I want to be my best, and what do I need to do to be as close to a high level bikini competitor as possible at an NPC show? That's one physique assessment, right?
Yes.
Another one, a more heartbreaking one sometimes, is when someone says, hey, I want to get to the Olympia one day. What's my reality, right? Is my reality even possible of that? And those is when I'll be honest with them. And, when you're talking about someone going to a local level, doing an NPC show, anyone can do that. There's not a body type that can't do bikini in an NPC level local show. Have fun. If you want to do it as a transformation, get on stage, just be your best you. Once a year, get in great shape during summertime, whatever. If it's one of those things, anyone can do that and never want to discourage it. But when we talk about getting to the Olympia, which is a lot of people's goal, we have to be realistic about it. And there's going to be a structural limitation to some people. So when we're talking about that scenario, that's a totally different thing. So you have to look at, the muscle bellies, how the tie-ins are, the structural potential. If someone has a narrow clavicle base and really tiny joints and tiny bone structure with hips that are straight up and down, it's probably not going to do very well. You're probably not going to get to the Olympia. Sorry. It's just, and if you do, you're not going to do anything there, because you're going to run into, every level has a genetic structure that is better and better. The local level, the girl with the best genetic structure, she'll probably win. She'll probably do pretty good, but you could probably beat her at a local level. If you worked really hard, you came in lean, it's not going to be as big of a deal. National level, trying to get a pro card, probably the girl with the better genetic structure is going to be winning that show. Pro level, then you get to a whole nother level of genetic structures. And then Olympia level is like, okay, these are the best genetic structures on the planet. I'm sorry, you don't have that. There's not much we can do there, right? So, there's limitations in all sports. And I don't want to like discourage anyone. All sports have that. I'm not playing basketball because I'm not 6'8", that's the reality of things.
For sure.
There's in boxing, I box. There's a tall guy with longer arms. It's harder for me to box, right? So everything has its advantages and disadvantages, and it's all sports. And it's just we have to be reality. But Michael Phelps has huge wingspan, right? And so like how if I'm gonna go I can be just as good of a swimmer as Michael Phelps, but the disadvantage I have with his length of his arms, right, and his web toes he's got or whatever it is, I'm probably pretty screwed. I'm probably make up for that genetic difference, right?
Yeah.
So this is with all sports, and we have to be realistic about it. And so those conversations are different for different scenarios. But yeah,
Definitely.
I'm always honest with people, and whether that's positive or negative, because people are going to find out one way or the other. So whether that's pulling a girl off of a show because she's not going to be ready,
Right.
or telling a girl who emails me, hey, I want to do this show in 8 weeks, that, she's crazy, or a girl who's doesn't even have enough muscle for a bikini, who says, I want to do wellness, but just because they have body fat on their legs, I'm going to tell them, you got body fat on your legs. That's not muscle.
Yeah.
So, it's important, because they're going to find out one way or another. It's easier to have your heart broken by one person telling you than by an audience of 3,000, right? Watching you, being the least fit person at a fitness competition. You don't want to be that person. It's a bad feeling, So yeah, those are, I keep it real with everyone. And I think people, for the most part, appreciate it, and sometimes when they don't appreciate it, they usually do later on, So.
Yeah. Now, going back to something that you mentioned, when you are coaching an athlete and you are just, they're not on track to be ready for stage, at what point do you usually make that call?
At the point where finances are, it's impossible to get past spending money. So,
registering.
Like, let's say they're coming from, a lot of people come out. And the cool thing about the team here is we do a lot of team shows. So we'll do, quite a few team shows a year. A lot of people want to come to Vegas and have the experience. And, Vegas is just a cool place to go and do a show and come to the prep center, pose, meet all the athletes. Like, it's a fun thing. We had 21 people in the show last week, and it was great. It was awesome. Fun. It was our best team show of the year. It was awesome. Everyone had a great time. The girls all met each other. They went out for dinner after. They did Vegas things on Sunday. They all flew back to Sunday night or Monday. And it was just a fun thing, right? So in the scenario where, let's say they're flying in from New York and the tickets prices are $400 to get here, or let's say $300 to get to Vegas 8 weeks out, 4 weeks out, but then it's, $800 to get here 2 weeks out. We'll make the decision 4 weeks out. But if the girl's from Vegas and there's no difference if she's, going to the show now or later, then we'll just, we can call it a week ahead. So it's just based on the scenario and based on the expenses, really.
Gotcha.
There's always going to be another show. There's always going to be another show. So it shouldn't be, and I always tell everyone too, like, don't register for the show 16 weeks out. Like, these girls always do that when they're not. It's always the girls that need to lose like 30 pounds and might make it because they need that. Like, if I register, then I'm going to be more dedicated. I'm like, just be dedicated. Don't waste the money and then put the pressure on the coach because you didn't lose the 30 pounds. Because I had that happen before too, where it's like, I need to lose 35 pounds to get ready for this show in 16 weeks. I'm like, first off, why are we needing to lose 35 pounds for a bikini contest? Second of all, why did you spread yourself so thin and buy the tickets, the hotel, the makeup, the tan, the registration, when we don't need to do that till, 2 weeks before the show? The price doesn't change till 2 weeks before the show. So why are you doing that? And it's like, they're like, oh, so I can stay dedicated to it. And then when I say, hey, you only lost 25 of those 35 pounds, they're still like, oh, well, I still want to do it because I did it. I'm like, you're not ready still. Like, this is not something you rush. You have to be ready. You're competing against the most fit people in your state. You have to be prepared for that, So it's just like, I always kind of use the metaphors of like sports because, if I'm playing basketball and I just, and I'm not ready to play in a tournament, why would I enter that tournament early? I'm going to get smoked. It's not going to be fun for me.
Yeah.
And the same thing is with arts. Like, oh, I just want the experience. I'm like, the experience of getting, slammed on basketball. It'll be fun to be posterized in a basketball game, right? It's like, so yeah, just be ready and take your time. This is a long race. It's not going to be a quick thing. You can't just transform into a show in 8 weeks and look like, a top Olympian. It just doesn't work that fast.
Very, very rare. We have like those outliers, right?
Yeah. And even them these days, it's like so rare, so muscular and so lean. Like, it takes a real prep, it takes a real long time to look like that. Before a bikini physique, like in 2011, 12, you can go to any restaurant, look at a waitress and be like, hey, you're pretty fit. You want to do a bikini contest? You'd be like, yeah, I work out. I do whatever. I do, group classes at 24-hour fitness 3 times a week. I'm like, oh yeah, that should be fine. Do some extra glute bridges and we'll get you on stage in 6 weeks. That's not where we're at now. The bikini girls now look like figure competitors did then.
For sure.
Actually leaner with better tie-ins and better glute development and some with better shoulders, than 2012 bikini. You can look at it. Erin Stern was Miss Olympia bikini, and now she's, competing in bikini, winning bikini shows with being leaner than she was when she won Miss Olympia. So, the level's different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I love that as an example because it shows, look at her pictures then, she's actually leaner now in bikini than, and with better glutes now in bikini than she was when she won Miss Figure Olympia. It's changed, you know, it's a different thing now. So
Yeah,
it's going to take some time.
definitely. Going back with girls who are winning overalls, like let's just say, hypothetically speaking, your local girls, they're placing really well at local shows. What are your general parameters for saying, okay, let's go to nationals now? Is it's independent of the athlete and their basically their genetics?
Yeah, it's a lot of it. It comes down to a lot of different things. One, I don't send a lot of people to nationals. I'm not, you know, I'm sending only people that are ready to win to go to nationals. You know, so if you get a green light from us to go to nationals, then you know that you're competitive. You know, I've even had one girl who was like, "I'm going to go to nationals. I'm going to go to nationals." So I'm like, "You're not ready. You're not ready." And she was like, "Well, I want to do it for the experience." And I was like, "Look, like, I only send the cream of the crop to nationals. If you're not ready for that yet." But she was dead set on it. She did bought her ticket. I was like, "Look, if you're going to do that, you're not ready. I'm not going to represent you going into nationals." A big deal to go to nationals. I want quality physique. I don't want, you know, it's a national competition. That's like, you know, it's like a national karate tournament. You know, you wouldn't send your worst guys from your dojo to the national karate. You want to win that title. You want to win the championship, right? So I'm going to send my people there. And if you're not there yet, then, you know, we'll get you, but don't rush it. Or, you know, if you decide to do that, I'm going to be like, "Hey, I'm not going to take you there." I gave her her money back, said, "Hey, I wish you luck, but we're not going to prep you for nationals yet." So, you know, you have to make those tough calls.
Yeah.
This is a team, any sports team. You know, I want to make the best athletes possible. I'm not concerned with money or growth. If anything, I don't want to get if anything, I want to get smaller, not bigger. And I just want to, you know, put out quality and make it more of a legacy than just, you know, make money and send everyone to nationals. You know, that's just not my thing.
I agree. Yeah. I see a lot of times, you know, girls on social media and like they win their first show, they win the overall and they get qualified for nationals and they just want to go immediately to nationals. And I talk about that a lot on my podcast on like, just because you win one overall does not mean you're ready for nationals.
And I've seen overall winners that wouldn't even win, like place top 5 in a normal class.
Yeah.
You know, you could see some of these one-off shows that are in the middle of nowhere where it's a small market, you know, and you like, you know, if you're that girl and you're not sure, you know, send in a picture for a physique assessment. Say, "Am I ready for nationals?" Ask a couple people, ask some judges, ask some coaches, whatever, you know, hopefully there's a high level to tell you, but, you know, I would say probably at least 50% of the time, if you're in a market that's a big market, let's say you're in Texas, which is a huge market, California, Florida, Nevada, like Las Vegas, not Nevada, Las Vegas, specifically Las Vegas in Nevada, like Reno's not a huge market.
Right.
And you're in these major market areas and you're winning overalls there, then you probably have the green light if you're winning an overall to go to nationals. Cause that's a tough place. Those are tough markets.
Yeah.
If you're in like the middle of nowhere and you're winning overall, it's like, maybe you're ready, maybe you're not. I don't know. Like, let's just make sure, because there's a difference of winning a show in Nevada that has 350 competitors with, you know, 150 bikini competitors than winning a show in the middle of Wyoming that had 30 bikini competitors. There's a big difference.
Definitely.
So yeah, go when you're ready. I don't ever want to discourage you going, but it's, you know, it's a different level. It's a national competition, you know, it's deciding if you're pro ready or not, you know? So yeah, I would agree with that, and make sure that you're just giving yourself the time you need to, especially today's bikini. Today's bikini is no joke, you know?
It's no joke. Yeah, it's very, very competitive. Now, when we first started talking, you were mentioning, you know, some girls will take on, or some bodybuilders will just take on bikini athletes and just kind of like, just do some random stuff with training and things. What do you think some common mistakes are when girls try to go at it alone when it comes to starting their training for bikini? Or maybe they're just like, "Hey, I met this dude at the gym who's done a few shows and I'm just going to do his workout program." What are some common mistakes that you see when girls try to dive in when they go solo?
I would say it's solo, and then when it's like a bodybuilder who like decides to take on bikini girls, because that's the problem you run into, is girls are naive to the sport, you know?
Right.
And if you look at bikini, you know, there's a reason this whole time. You know, you look at like poker players and it's like, why is the same guys always end up winning these big ass tournaments? Are these guys, yes, they are that much better. That's what's happening. That's why you see the same guys winning shows with different people all the time. decades on end, right? Your local bodybuilding who's really only cares about bodybuilding, and he like you see, go ahead and click on history of YouTube and you'll see nothing but bodybuilding videos. Your bikini video. Click on my history of videos, you'll see no bikini videos. Right? So, you got to study the sport. It's its own art form, and a regular men's physique competitor who's done 5 shows, like he probably doesn't know enough about bikini to really do good.
Yeah.
So I'll see some of these workout plans, and that's usually where the issues start. I'll see the workout plans from these, bodybuilding coaches to bikini girls. And so you're doing chest twice a week.
I see that all the time.
You're working a ton of back depth. Why are you your hair's covering your back depth? Who cares? You're doing abs 6 days a week because when you already have etched abs, you're training your adductors. You're doing like there's all these mistakes. I'm like you're already set up for failure. You're already set up for this failure. So it's an art form on its own, and your sculpting structure is the perfect fitness model that you can without going to, you're trying to work on those enhance the natural curves without building an X frame. You're trying to build an hourglass if she doesn't have one. You're trying to get the hip width without squaring the glutes. You're trying to do all these things that they kind of counter each other. How do I build the hamstrings to be nice and round, but also not build things so big that they're crazy striated, right? So they're so detailed, because they don't want either of those things, right? They want round, full hamstrings without striations, right? How do I get that lean where my striations are showing? How do I get my tie-in super, super lean without striated hamstrings? How do I get super lean without striated quads? Why do I not need to work chest? How does that hurt me, right? Why am I even doing chest, right? So like, am I lean? Am I too lean? Am I grainy now? Should I not be grainy? So there's just so much that goes into it. I could look at a girl in 10 seconds and tell you right away,
Yeah.
It's so obvious when you have a trained eye, and it's like these little things pop up. It was funny because the other day I was at a show, and this girl had really, really good fake glutes, right? She had side enhancement glutes. So beautiful body, like crazy physique, fitness model look, everything. I was like, oh dang, that girl's really good. And then she turned around, and like split second, I was like, oh, fake glutes. She's gonna get dinged for that, right? And then they put her in the middle, and I was like, what? How are these judges not seeing this, right? Because it was good. They were good fake glutes, but you need to really train for it. Fooled probably everyone in the audience besides like a few people, right? And she got in the middle at the night show, and then she actually ended up winning, and then she went into the overall. And then I was like, are they really not going to catch this? Like, and then they caught it in the overall. And I was like, I talked to the judges after, like, I missed it. It was just so fast. There's so many girls. I missed it, but I'm like, they're good. They're hard to see, but it just shows like I practiced bikini so much that I literally saw it in a split second. And it was funny because I had a couple of my coaches with me, and they were like, how do you, I'm like, you could see the shape, you could see the difference. Like, these are the things you look for. So I explained it to them, and it was a good learning lesson for everyone. And it was it's one of those things, but it takes, bikini is an art form. You can see when something's weird. You can see when something's off. And if you really train your eye, which is what you're paying the coach for, is really you're paying for the eye. And, it's like, just like an artist, you pay for their artwork. It's the same. Bikini is like that. Bodybuilding's a lot different. It's not so much art to it. It's, I'm going to get you as big as I possibly can, as symmetrical as I possibly can, and as lean as I possibly can. And that's it. That's the plan. Now tell me the plan for bikini. Right? Tell me the blueprint for bikini. You can't. And if you can, you got a problem. Right. So that's why bikini is an art form, and I'm not taking away from bodybuilding. Bodybuilding, I'll admit, is, it's harder than bikini in terms of for the bodybuilder itself. But for the coach itself, except for on the drug side of things, of course, it's pretty straightforward. Right. But with bikini, it's, sculpting that physique, sculpting that beautiful piece of art out of the clay that they give me. So it's different. And there is there's an edge to those top guys that have that artistic eye,
So. For sure. Now, are they putting that in the rules somewhere, that like enhancements of some kind with glutes or like calves? I'm sure bodybuilders do that. Is that somewhere in the rules where you get dinged for that?
Oh, they'll never award fake glutes ever. Like it's anyone that has fake glutes, that's obvious they have fake glutes, they've had a conversation with the judge after the show, 100%. So if the judge can spot it, there's some, is there people getting away with it and doing a little bit? Probably, I'm sure of it, especially in wellness. In bikini, I don't think that's really a thing in bikini. And I know a lot of the top girls, and I'll never ever say like when a top girl reaches out to me, because I want to keep that, I always want to be an ear for them, because I know a lot of top girls, I know a lot of the things that they do, the questions that they have, hormone panels that I've reviewed and whatnot, and I give advice and stuff. And I don't know a single one that does that in bikini. I don't know the one, at least in America. I don't know any overseas in terms of if they're doing that, because I don't talk to too many of them about that stuff, but it's not a single one in bikini that I know of. I would say I'll probably give a high number. 99.9% of all bikini girls' glutes are real. So
yeah, I'm definitely seeing the enhanced glutes more and more as of the last year, probably at least every show I've been to. Can see at least one, sometimes two or three. And I'm like, oh, as soon as they turn around, it's definitely noticeable for sure.
You'll see it at an NPC level, at an IFBB level. You'll never see anyone be successful with it as a pro. That's for sure. And even in wellness, if you can spot it, the judges can spot it, and they'll get knocked down for it, and they'll never be awarded. You know, until that's done. So, and same thing with the guys too. You know, if they have that in their shoulders or whatever, and the judges can see it, they're gonna knock them for it. They want real muscle. You know, they want to keep this.
Yeah, it's definitely the point of the sport for sure.
Yeah, it would get really weird if they were starting to allow. I mean, we'd be seeing some weird things in about 5 years if they just go bigger.
Yeah.
Know? So yeah, that's not where they want it, and they hit them hard with it, and it's hard to get away from it too. If you've had them before, and the judges notice it, it's hard to get away from that, because you have to like kind of convince them that that's now your real glute.
Yeah.
So you kind of screw yourself in the future for it, even if you find a way to get rid of it and work it out of there or whatever. Like future stuff, that's in the judge's head. Are those glutes real now? Are they, is she getting away with it now? Like that's stuff you don't want to be doing.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to giving your athletes or bikini girls in general an idea, I'm sure you get this often. I know I get it often. How much should I be weighing when I get on stage? How do you answer that question?
So there are pretty close, so if we're talking pro level bikini, there are some pretty set standards with obviously a variance based on structures. But if you get any of these 5'5" bikini pros who've won the Olympia, all of them are around the same weight. I think 5'5" was, or 5'6", between 5'5" and 5'6" was Issa, Ashley, Angelica, Jennifer Dory, and all of them were right around 120. Right, 117 to 123, so you can say, okay, 5'5", around 120, give or take a few pounds, right, based on how much muscle, how lean you are, how curvy you are, or whatever, right? So they're all in that general range, So, structural is going to change things, but yeah, there's going to be a range for everyone. If you know all the structures and the heights, they're going to be pretty similar at that level. So,
okay,
but still a variance, but yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, sounds about right. So one question we did get on Instagram was somebody had asked, why does Adam keep his athletes so lean in the off season? And I know the answer to this, and your guidelines for that. So what are your thoughts with that as far as off season goes? And I've heard you talk about this so many times, but I thought, well, why not bring it back to my podcast? Sure.
Yeah. You know what? Well, I'll first start saying that I've never claimed to be smart, but I am wise. Okay. I'm very wise. And so wisdom comes from experience, right? So, and I know where that question comes from, and I understand it. I understand the reason why people get, like, I trigger people with that, because they're always like, he's so hard on the girls, he always wants them lean, and and I'm like, okay, the place you're coming from and even asking that question is because you're having some self-doubt about you not being able to stick to your plan off season, and you want me to vocalize and give you the room to say it's okay to gain 30 pounds in the off season when it's not. Okay. So that's the reality of this, is that there's no, if you're trying to be inclined and you just want to do this for fun, you're going to get in the best shape of your life one time, go for it. Do that, have fun. I still don't recommend you gaining 30 pounds in the off season for a 120 pound bikini girl. Let's look about that in perspective, right? We just said 120 pounds, right? For a bikini girl at the top level. Well, if she's gaining, let's say 30 pounds, 10% of that 120 pound girl's weight is 12 pounds. So we're talking 25% weight gain. And then we're like, oh, it's unhealthy to stay lean. Wait, is it unhealthy to stay lean, or is it unhealthy to gain 25% of your body weight every time you compete multiple times a year?
Yes.
I'm probably going to stick with it close to stay within percent of your stage weight as the healthier thing than gaining 25% of your stage weight, right? Now, again, we're talking about athletes trying to be professional athletes. We're not talking about, and that's the problem you run into, right? You run into this problem of, like, people's like, oh, I want to be a pro, I want to be the next Miss Olympia, but also I want to take it easy in the off season, eat whatever I want. And what's crazy is in our sport, people don't. It's so crazy, right? Any professional sport, let's take boxing just because I'm experienced with that, right? So a boxer, right? He makes weight, he weighs 175, and he makes weight at like 155, right? And we're talking 75 to 55, he loses 20 pounds, right? Maybe he's 185 walking around, but then he's losing water weight to make that weight class, right? So he's losing 20 pounds, right? And this is a big guy losing that much weight, right? He's taking it very seriously. He's a pro boxer. And then he gets done with the fight. He goes back up to like 180, 185, right? He still doesn't stop training. He still doesn't stop doing cardio. He's still eating relatively clean because he cares about being a professional athlete and how he performs. Mm-hmm. In our sport, for some reason, some of the culture is, oh, I just need a break. My body needed it. I needed this break. I needed it for my mental whatever, right?
Right.
Then don't say you want to play professional sports at the highest level, because there's no professional sport at the highest level that's healthy. There's none. Okay, there's not a single one.
Right.
You think not even baseball, which is like a boring sport to watch. Those guys work their ass off, even though it's super boring to watch, and they're barely moving when they're on the field.
Hey,
hey, I mean, that's just the reality. It's America's sport, but man, is it low action on that field. So, but even those guys, right? When it comes to training camp, they don't come back to training camp 30, 40 pounds overweight.
No.
Basketball, they have a full off season. They don't come back 30, 40 pounds. And these are big guys. Baseball players are big men. They're 200-pound men, 180-pound men, right? They're big guys. Mm-hmm. And they're not coming back to training camp 20 pounds overweight. They're coming back at 180 pounds. That's how they come back.
Yeah.
They do off-season training, right? But they're professional athletes, right? But now you're a 120-pound bikini girl coming back 30, 35 pounds overweight. And you're like, oh, I want this seriously. Really? You want to take it seriously? And you're 35 pounds above your stage weight? Tell me something. Like, that's not the reality of things. Hey, you want to be honest, need to have, like, I'm just not good at it. I accept that, but don't blame me for how it is of saying, hey, if you want to play this as a professional sport, you should be excelling from show to show. You should be getting better from show to show. We shouldn't be just trying to catch up to your last physique every single time, because that's what happens. Mm-hmm. What happened? This is the scenario. I'm glad I'm going on a little rant on this, because I don't do it too often.
Get ranty, get it. Get him, Adam.
Here's the cool thing about being me is that if I wanted to, I could retire. And if I do this purely for fun at this point, and I'm just going to say whatever I want, and if you like it, great. If you don't, then don't join. That's fine.
Exactly.
I don't need you. I'm fine. I'm doing just fine. I'm not trying to grow, so I'm not going to say the political thing.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're playing, here's what happens. So a girl will do a show, and she'll lose her 30 pounds and she'll get in stage shape. And I don't have any problem with a girl losing 30 pounds and get in stage shape. I think that's awesome. But stay there. You work so hard to get there. Why not stay there? I'm not saying stage lean. I'm saying stay 10% above stage weighters. You're going to be competing and within 4 to 6 months, above stage weight if you're going to be competing, within the next year.
Can you repeat that? Crazy. Just because you cut out a little bit. You said 13%? Yeah. In the off season,
12% if you're going on a long off season, and if you're on a short off season, like in between shows in like 6 months. Gotcha. That's kind of my marker. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, is that really unrealistic? You're 120 pounds on stage. You're going to go off season for a year. I'm saying, okay, gain 15 pounds. Am I really being that hard on my athletes? Is that really like, should I, if you're a fitness model, right?
Right.
But then 15 pounds is me asking you to be 15 pounds above stage weight is too much. 12%. Like, that's,
yeah.
If I had to lean out right now, I'd have to lose less weight than some bikini competitors that come to me that need to weigh 120 pounds. I walk around 190. Why is that a thing? So is that people want to they want to do this sport professionally but they don't want their actions to match that. Right. And when I say you should be stage lean, and I'm showing you the map and the professional sports athlete should take to take this, I'm the jerk, right? Okay, right. Tell that to Shaq when he came back to training camp, and everyone said he was fat. Right? That's how professionals really. So, I'd rather you not do a show if every time you have to gain 30 pounds after, because that's going to lead to problems down the road. It's not just losing body fat and you look a little different, and there's this whole like body positivity movement. I'm healthy at it anyway, whatever. That's not true. That's a lie, right? So, yes, gaining 30 pounds multiple times in life is hard on the heart. Your body blood to that extra. And if it's going from less, more all the time and significantly more, has to pump 20 to 25% more tissue. Yeah, that's hard on the heart. That can lead to problems later on. You can research that. By the way, movement that's telling you healthy at any gaining weight is lying to you. You know, it is going to shorten your lifespan. So now when we talk about it in the bikini realm, not only is it, detrimental to your success, because now that you have to diet that weight off, right? You have to diet that weight off. You're going to lose some of that newly gained muscle that you had, right? So now you're trying to, the harder you have to diet, the more likely you are, the more at risk you are to lose muscle. So is it better for me to, and people talk about, oh, well, that's how I'm going to gain muscle. You might gain a little bit more muscle if you bulk and gain some body fat, but you're going to lose that extra benefit when you're dieting for a longer period of time. And you're going to net about the same amount of muscle, whether you did a pure lean gaining phase or you did a bulking phase. We're talking about the net growth, not the scale weight growth, right?
Exactly.
The net skeletal muscle, lean tissue growth. If you do it lean or you do it in bulking, it's probably going to be about the same. You're going to be a lot more comfortable staying lean all year than you are with bulking. Because you're going to have to diet for a harder, it's going to be harder for your prep. So back to the scenario. This is what happens. You see these girls like, oh, bodybuilding ruined me, right? And I'm like, well, did bodybuilding ruin you, or was it your weak mentality that ruined you? Because I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Adam, tell them.
It's the truth. People don't like to hear the truth.
No,
days,
it's true. I agree. I'm guilty of it too. Let's just be real. I'm guilty of having been this person. So I totally, but I own up to it.
I did it post show too. When I was competing. I never blew up because it was so hard for me to lose body fat, but I would go and I would eat till after sometimes. I did it. That's actually the last time I did it, is I would eat so much, and then I would be like so it was 3 shows I did. I did 13 shows, 3 shows. My first 3 shows, I just would gorge after it. Right.
Yes.
And then I was like, man, I lost all my hard work. I lost my abs. That sucks. That was like the first time. And then it was kind of funny and it was like, whatever. Right. And then the second time, yeah. I was like, man, that really does suck, because that's so many cardio sessions. Like those 2 days of food, 3 days of food, 2 weeks of food, whatever, was wasted time on the cardio. Like my time's valuable.
Yeah.
I don't want to just give it away for a hamburger or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
And then the third time I threw up, and I'm like, okay, now this is becoming a problem. Like this is ridiculous. I never want to feel like this again. Like eat till I throw up. That's so a disgusting thing.
I've been there.
And it's like I look at myself in shame, when I did that.
For sure.
And so. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. And as soon as I said I'm done with it, I never did it again. Mm-hmm. And even then, I try to stay lean. So, but I'm not like chicken broccoli my whole life. Yesterday was like, I always wait for this like donut of the month at Pink Box.
Ooh, what was it?
And
I love donuts.
They had this like Reese's Pieces Pink Box donut. And my wife, she was like, yeah, get it. Right now I'm training. So I'm boxing like 12 hours or so a week. And so I'm like, but I'm still eating clean. I have to make weight. And so I was like, I'm going to do it. I did 2 hours of boxing today, and I'm going to do it and get this new one. I like Reese's Pieces. I rarely get them, but it was like they finally had like a good donut of the month. But I only ate half of it, and I took out a little bit of the peanut butter on the inside, and I still had the same satisfaction as if I were to eat the whole thing. But the problem is that we just want the taste of it. But whether the donut was, this big or this big, we would eat the whole portion size, right? Yeah. So I put that in my head as like, whatever they're giving me isn't what I need, because if it was just a donut whole, I'd be just as satisfied if it was a giant donut. There's no difference in satisfaction,
right?
Once you get that initial taste, and you have to set your mindset to that, right? So I cut it in half. I took out a little bit of the peanut butter stuff. Instead of it being a 500 calorie donut, I had 250, right?
Yeah,
maybe even 200, because I scooped out some of the chocolate and peanut butter, right? So. But I still had the same satisfaction. I still got my donut of the month. I still had my taste. And I didn't feel like I was
deprived.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But don't you feel like that takes some practice?
I think it takes some willpower.
Okay.
I think that's more of a cold turkey kind of thing.
Okay.
Like you're just going to say, I'm going to do this and do it,
Yeah.
So, I grew up in sports too. And I grew up, wrestling and hockey and whatnot. And so I try to relate to regular people, because my
normies,
dieting,
call them normies.
Yeah, normies. Because if I was wrestling and my coach was like, "Hey, you got our 119er, he's out. You got to make 119." So like I walk around, like when I was wrestling, I was walking around like 150 or so, 145. Like, all right, I'll make 119. I just want to eat. I don't care. Whatever the team needs. So like that's just how it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit more, I think, tougher on that side of things, because sports makes you do that. But when I'm thinking about someone who says they want to be a professional athlete, again, this is more so about professional athletes, and more so on the girls that gain, 30 plus pounds. That's a different thing, right? So, 25% of your stage weight. So these are what happens is back to it, the girls will say, oh, bodybuilding ruined me. And I'm like, no, you were never meant to be a bodybuilder with the mindset that you had. You needed to work on that before you ever started bodybuilding, because every time you did a show, you gained 30 pounds, you went back, aged weight, you killed yourself to get there. And that sucked because it didn't need to be that hard. You made it that hard on yourself. You did it 3 times. And now you're suffering from it. Your hormones are a little off because of the excessive dieting you had to do, because of the excessive binging that you did, right? So because you gained excessive amount of weight, you had to diet excessively hard. Those two things are never, there's no way of getting away from those two things.
No.
You eat like crazy, you're going to diet like crazy. And that's just the reality of things. You eat a little bit less, you're going to diet a little bit less. And that's, it's a give and take. It's like an investment,
Yeah.
You're like in the food that you don't eat and the cheat meals that you're not having is an investment in your future preps of being easier, and it's going to pay you back, so that's the thing. I'm not saying, be anorexic or anything. I'm just saying it's going to pay you back. You're going to make dividends on that sacrifice. And, you want to be a pro athlete. You really got to ask yourself, do I really want to be a pro athlete, or am I just saying I want to be a pro athlete? Because athletes is 24/7, 365. There's no days off for pro athletes.
No.
And if there is a day off that you're taking, that's a day off that someone else isn't taking, that's getting past you, and that's the reality of sports. Your timeline in professional sports is limited. Your bikini window is probably to about 42, 44 years old, maybe, being competitive. And you every day counts, so you have to be reality of that, in that if you're trying to get to the Olympia, there's very few 50-year-olds getting to that Olympian bikini, right? So we just have to be honest with each other about that. My window is short. I'm going to take advantage of it. It's just like football. You don't see, 35-year-olds in football. Their window, they better be perfect from 18 to 35, because that's their window. And every sport has its window.
Yeah.
And, you better be, smart about it if you want to be professional. Now, if you want to be, again, this is just for the people who say professionals. If you want to be just a regular client and you just want to do a show, great, do that. But say you want to do that, be honest with yourself,
right?
Be honest with your coach. Bodybuilding didn't ruin you. Your lack of discipline ruined you. And you're blaming it on bodybuilding because you don't want to take that responsibility. I think it's important to take that responsibility. I messed up. I did it before. You did it before. We both own up to it. It is what it is. But you got to if you want to be professional, you got to get better in the off season. So I focus with clients on most of them, not all of them. Some of them just do their thing, and I still love them, but I'm still hard on them about it because I want them to be better. But the reality is, it's easier to be predictable in a prep. I can predict what's going to happen. We don't need to lose 30 pounds, 25 plus pounds. I can jump into a show. Like if you look at, and the reason that a lot of people will say, why do I keep people so lean? They look at Ashley and my relationship with Ashley, of course, right? She's like my sister at this point.
Yeah.
So this is all evolved to this point. Like the way that me and Ashley are doing things is kind of changing the sport in its entirety. 5 years ago, when it was like 4 years ago or so, there was a team complaining about Ashley too much, right? And now they're doing the same thing because we proved that model works, right? They're doing it just as much. Like, oh, okay, complain now, it works. Okay, well, right?
Yeah.
Oh, stay lean. To 8 years ago, everyone was getting fat in the off season. Ashley's staying lean, competing often, and making improvements. And they're like, you can't make improvements staying that lean. And now, 4 years ago, tell me she hasn't improved. Exactly, because it will. So we're changing the game by proof, and I love does it because she's leading by example.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take credit for that. That's Ashley's hard work. But she's leading by example, saying, no, I can compete often, I can stay lean, and I can still make improvements, and I'm going to prove you all wrong. And she's done it time and time and time again. And everyone is starting to take path, right? It's becoming more of a thing, which is a great example of that. And here's the thing, a lot of times you won't see, like his name on it, and then she'll do that because she's in shape and it's down the street. And she's like, oh, I'm just going to do the show this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, we'll decide on Monday, right? Like, it's literally, we can be like, all right, let's diet. Let's lose 2 pounds this week. Let's go for it. Let's have fun. And a lot of times the shows are like that. They're like fun. Like maybe we'll do it, maybe not.
Right.
She stays about 5 pounds above stage weight, 6 stage weight, which I don't recommend for most people. But here's the thing with her, Ashley's a good maintainer, but she's a really hard loser. People think that she's like genetically best. She's like one of the hardest losers she's one of the hardest losers I have for sure. If she's above 10 pounds, getting that on top of her is like
a challenge.
Pounds off someone else, like really hard for her to get up.
Yeah.
So we keep her close to like that 6 pounds, and everyone's like, oh, it's not healthy. And I'm like, dude, we're Ashley Cutwasser, right? There's not in the world that someone won't give to her, right? In this sport. So she gets, we have doctors, they do free lab work on her. They do free everything, right? They just take care of us. They take care of me, they take care of her. Any of that, I say, hey, take care of her, So we run the lab. She's like the healthiest. She's like she'll live to 150. She's so healthy. You can do it. You can do it. It's a myth that people are like, oh, it's unhealthy, right? I have tons of reports showing it's not, right?
Yeah.
It is. So, you run into these things. And I think that's the thing is, and as the sport's evolving, people realize, okay, the game plan is compete on and stay lean, stay within striking distance, can make improvements by lean gaining. You can focus on just lean gaining. And the whole bulking thing is pretty much dead at this point.
That's what I was going to get into next. Yeah.
Yeah. So
do you think that lends to be part of the problem with these girls going way off board after a show is the old school like bodybuilding mentality of like, oh, the judges say I need more muscle, so I need to bulk? Because I get a lot of physique assessments as well where people are like, I'm in a bulk phase. I just did one the other day and she's eating like 3,500 calories and she's going to be a bikini girl. I'm like, that's unnecessary. She already has a great base of muscle.
Yeah. So that's funny.
Yeah.
I feel like my word gets out there. I give out a ton of free advice, but people still don't want to listen, don't want to accept it, But the reality is that there's never been 1 gram of muscle gained, gram of fat was gained, right? So the two don't correlate. More fat never equals more muscle, right? So you're going to get to your daily limit of how much skeletal muscle you could build, which is grams, which is like a gram of muscle, right? And then you're going to get to anything past that calorically, that you feeding that muscle, anything past that is just stored energy. It's just fat. There's not a benefit to more fat. Your muscle still stops here. You're not like, oh, I get fat, your muscle. It doesn't work that way. You're just gaining fat because you want to eat more,
Yeah.
And people see the scale and they're like, oh, I'm gaining. You're gaining just as much muscle you did a bulk. But, maybe days where you reach you on your calories if you're main gaining. That's the only real benefit. So like maybe you're eating 2,000 calories and you did a hard leg day, and that day maybe you should have eaten 2,200. So you undershot that day. So the bulking, you would you'd get most of the advantage out of every single day, but you're still getting the disadvantage of overshooting most days, right? So I'd rather undershoot 1-2 days a week and then maybe recomp a little, maybe lose some body fat while gaining muscle than just gain an unnecessary amount of body fat, right?
Yeah.
And so the real thing that you run into is still people are justifying why they're gaining body fat and blaming it on bulking. That's like, I think that's 90% of people out there. They're like, oh, I'm bulking because I want to grow. And the reality is that you want to eat, and that's cool, but say it, say, I want to eat.
Yeah.
I want to eat all the time, but I don't, I eat. I don't feel like I'm super sacrificing it. It's funny, today's level of sacrifice versus like what real sacrifice is. People are like, oh, I can't believe I can only eat 1,700 calories from healthy chicken and healthy broccoli and be super hydrated and have it all available to me and get it right at the grocery store.
And sometimes prepped for you.
Versus like I can't. Oh, I'm so sorry you're suffering that bad.
Right.
Where you get to eat healthy and then I'm like, no. And it's funny because they're like, oh, I just needed to balance. It's not healthy to eat like that. I'm like, no, it's actually healthy to eat like that. It's unhealthy to eat the way what you call balance, right? So let's be real about it and stop changing the terminology and changing the definition of what healthy eating is, right?
Right.
So healthy eating is clean, single ingredient foods. It always
Whole
will
foods,
be. It's not going to change, and it's eating calories that are right around your maintenance calories, maybe a little bit more if you're you're trying to gain. Maybe a little bit more, but we're not talking a ton. When we talk about building muscle, you look at, okay, how many calories are in a pound of muscle versus in a pound of fat? So in a pound of fat, you have 3,500 calories. So muscle gains around 800 calories are stored in a pound of lean mass, not a muscle, pound of muscle, but 3,500 calories are stored in a pound of fat. So if you're eating 100 calories per day, you're almost getting the full benefit. 100 calories more than your maintenance calories, you're almost getting a full benefit, maximizing your muscle growth. But people overshoot by like 1,500 calories.
Yeah,
where do you think those extra 1,500 calories are going? You think they're just going to get shoved muscle?
Yeah.
You 350-pound bodybuilders on stage at the Olympia. We did that. Maybe 400, right? That's not how it works. So not even just that. So if you're a natural athlete, like a natural bikini competitor, you're going to gain about 1 pound of lean mass every 45 days if you're crushing it. Like if you're knocking it out of the park, you're going to get about 1 pound every 45 days. So let's do that math. 800 calories by 45 days and your net calories are you need actually per day to hit that surplus, right? Now Adam's not crazy because he's using science to tell you, hey, I was right the whole time. Yeah, you only need to be about maintenance plus 50 calories or so a day to get the max benefit. Is it easy to do that and calculate? No. Am I going to overshoot a little bit? Yeah, because it's hard to nail, 30 calories plus, right? So yeah, I'll overshoot a little bit, but I'm not going to be gaining more than that 12%, 10% marker. If the client is listening to what I want to do, because I'm trying to set them up for success long term.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hit that window. And the things that we don't talk about is, what about your skin? What about the stretch marks? What about the skin elasticity?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to matter when you're 50 years old and you've gained and lost 30 pounds 20 times in your life. What do you think your skin's going to look like when you're 50? It's going to be looser. It's going to be saggy. You're not just going to keep that elasticity.
Mm-mm.
Like, what makes you think you're the one that's going to keep the elasticity?
Yeah.
Right. When you're losing 30 plus pounds,
But I think this is an important conversation to have. I don't think enough people are talking about this specifically in the bodybuilding world. Like, we are more and more, and I'm talking about it a lot on the podcast, but what I tend to see as trends, and I don't know if you experience this as a coach yourself, is you take an athlete to show and then post show, maybe they don't have a show for another year or they want to take some time off and then they want to just stop coaching altogether. They're like, I'm all over the place. I'm just going to take it from here and do my own thing. I'm not sticking to the plan. And then they come back in a year and see me 30 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about that Olympic gold medalist who didn't have a coach? Did you ever hear about that one?
No.
Yeah, neither did I.
Okay.
Because it doesn't happen.
Oh, shit. I was like, tell me the story. Okay. Yeah. So good
because
point.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to be the best at anything, you need a coach. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So there's people that are experts in their field that know more than you, and that's their job. That's their entire job. And yeah, accountability in season, off season, everyone needs it. So if you want to look at you're like, I want to be the next Miss Olympia. I want to be the best in the world. Okay, so what we're saying is, I want to be the best in the world that year, right? It's a crazy thing to say, and girls say it all the time. I want to be the next Miss Olympia. And I'm like, okay, cool. What are you doing to make that happen, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at any other sport that's the best in the world, right? Let's look at a Michael Phelps, and they're like, oh, I just don't want to coach in the off season. I want to eat whatever I want though at the same time.
Doesn't happen.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Good luck.
With that.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck with being the best at anything ever without 100% concentration. You could be, the best janitor in the world, and you would need to train for it.
For sure. The janitor Olympics, you would need a coach.
There's probably some guy out there that is. Right? So
probably
that guy would need to train. He'd probably go do drills. There's a whole, you know what I mean? There's nothing you can be the best at in the world without 100% dedication to that, to that, whatever it is. It is what it is. Like, people think that race car drivers, they're just driving around in the car. They're training harder than our bikini girls are in the off season, right? It's crazy.
Definitely.
So if you're trying to get to be the best in the world, these guys who reach the best levels in the world, they have a coach, they have a sports psychologist, they have a chef, they have a chiropractor, a PT, they're doing ice baths, they're doing testing, hormone testing, HRTs, whatever, right? The amount that it takes to be the best in the world at anything is an extreme amount, right? And you're saying you want to be the best in the world, but you want to gain 30 pounds in the off season, not have a coach for 8 months out of the year, and transform into every show. Okay, good luck.
Mic drop.
Good luck.
I love that. Now, just to go back a couple steps, but kind of along the same topic, when you have an athlete that's super close to show, and they say Coach Adam, I had a full-on snacksident and I just ate my weight in rice cakes today, and we're 3 weeks out. What do you do?
Well, one, I would wait till the measurement in, because you're going to have some masked progress.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're going to have water retention. You're going to be bloated. Your stuff will be bloated out, and I won't even see the real you for about a week. So after you had some big food, and then we're going to decide we're going to and in that scenario, I don't usually recommend making up for it with cardio or whatever. In that scenario, I probably would make up for it with. And I would say, we're not going to make a decision right now. In a week, we're going to see what you look like. If you ruined it, you less, and it is what it is. We'll do the next show. There's going to be another show. It doesn't happen at Olympias and things like that. So it's not like you don't run into those athletes at level. Run into it with an NBA level athlete. I'm like, hey, the reality is you messed up. Own it. Understand, and kick yourself for it. You did it. you stopped, you basically gave up on your sport for a day, and now we're gonna have to do a different show, and that's okay. But I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and be like, oh, it's okay, like you did it. It happens to everyone. Like you failed at that day, which is fine, but you failed at that prep, and we're gonna do another one. You're not gonna fail at the next one, because I want you to feel that feeling. I want you to absorb it. I want you to like say, why did I do that? Find out the reasoning behind it, and make yourself tougher so you don't do it the next time. But you do need to pay a consequence for it, and that's going to be you not doing the show, potentially, if your body is your best. But in that scenario, hopefully that it didn't hurt them too bad, and hopefully that they're already feeling so guilty that that's enough. That's all they need.
Yeah.
And they still do the show. But I'm not gonna put them on stage unless they're ready. Either way, and if they mess it up, they mess it up. It's on them. So if I did my job, then I'm at peace with that.
Right.
So.
Exactly. Okay. Last question, and then I'm going to let you go. What advice would you give to somebody who was maybe just like, average fit, maybe does some Orange Theory, maybe gets in the weight room occasionally, they want to do their first show? What are your recommendations with that? Like, first time competitor, what steps should they take to get started on their journey?
So first off, I would say, do it. I think it's awesome. I think that everyone should do a show. I think that, in this podcast, especially because we talked a lot about like people that want to go pro, and like, people were saying they want to do the Olympia, and I feel like I come off as a hard ass a little bit on it, which is fine with me. But the reality is that the reason that I've been able to accomplish everything I have in my life, and the reason that I am, a little tougher and a little more, like this, is because of prep.
I agree.
Prep taught me everything. It taught me everything. It taught me that if I have a goal, I have to go after it every single day without hesitation. I have to wake up, I have to do my cardio, I have to eat right, I have to do all my things. And it's unlike any other sport, because it requires everything out of you. It requires your sleep, it requires your planning, it requires you keeping focused on a goal, eating right, working out hard, maintaining it through the times where it's tough. Because I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm better than I was, and I'm tougher now than when I started. And this sport will make you tough, and it'll make you tough not just for this, but it'll make you tough for life, because there's nothing's going to be handed to you in life. And a lot of these people these days think that like they're owed something. I'm like, no one owes you anything. No one's going to give you anything. Everyone's out for themselves. So this teaches you, hey, whatever I want to go get, I can go get it. I just need to earn it myself, and nothing's going to be. Once you do this as a lesson in bodybuilding, you're going to apply that lessons to your life. And the reason that I've been one of the trainers that have been able to climb to the top in this oversaturated market of, I did one show, now I'm a coach, right? There's 30,000, 50,000 coaches out there. Yeah. The reason that I've been able to climb to the top is because I stay true to it every single day. I've grown up with bodybuilding, and it's made me stick to this every single day and never take my foot off the gas. And so many years of not taking your foot off the gas, and you'll end up here. So, and it's the same thing with bodybuilding. So I think everyone, you just need to decide to do it. So if this is your first time doing it and you don't want to go pro, remember, I'm not going to beat you up for gaining 30 pounds as a pro. That was just for the people who are saying, I want to do this as a pro. And those people that we hear about it all the time. You hear about it all the time, I'm sure. For sure. So all the time. And then their actions don't match their words of what they want to do. But for the average person, do it once. It's the feeling that you get when you get off stage that first time. I'll never forget that feeling. I felt so accomplished. Yeah. I'll never forget it. And I got smoked my first time, people don't know like I'm just not a genetically like the best guy. My history of even getting into the sport, I was a crappy bodybuilder when I was a youth, and I did it at a very young age, and I got smoked. And I was like, I just want to win a show before I'm 30, right? I started at 18. And so I was like, I just want to win a show before I'm 30. I didn't win a show until I was 30.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It takes time. It takes time for most people.
Yeah. But when I got off stage, I was like, man, that was cool. Like I did that. I stuck to it. I stuck to a plan. If I can stick to this, I can stick to anything, and that's how I've just kind of applied life after that point. But it's kind of like a boot camp for life, not just a boot camp for
it. It really is.
Because it takes everything out of you, And so it makes you tough, and it makes you appreciate everything a little more. And I would say just do it. And get some pictures and enjoy it and say that you did that while you can,
Yeah.
So,
no, that's such a great way to end the podcast, because I think I talk a lot about how bodybuilding has just the discipline required to be able to execute, to get on stage once, let alone 16 times as I have, it tests everything, all realms of your life, relationships. I mean, all things get put under pressure. And a lot of times when I'm doing stuff and I'm like, oh, I don't, that's going to be a big project or a big task or a big business undertaking. I'm like, I've gone through prep. I can do anything. Like I could do anything at this point. So it really is a great way to build in an understanding of setting a goal and all the things that need to be accomplished in order to achieve it. And I think it translates really well into everyday life for sure.
Yeah. And you just find out who you are. You find out,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
how tough you are, or if you're, and if you're weak, and it is what it is. You can toughen it up, but you find out where your heart's really at, and it's cool. I like to test myself like that, personally, because I want to know how tough I am mentally. I want to know where's my breaking point, and that's part of the reason I do boxing too, is because like under pressure, when you're getting beat up, it's like, you really find out who you are, know? And so that was like my next evolution was that, so it was like, you want to always kind of make yourself mentally tougher and challenge yourself, and I think that this is one of the greatest challenges that you can do is bodybuilding, because it does require so much out of you,
Yeah.
And so, no, I think everyone should do it. It'll just make you better at life, just make you better at life. And there's very few things that can do that for you.
Yeah.
So I would highly encourage everyone to do it. To fully answer that question, I would say is, talk to a coach with experience in your division. If you're a men's physique guy, find the men's physique special. If you're a bikini girl, find a bikini special.
Yeah.
Find the right people to have in your corner. Just like any coach, you got to have a good coach in your corner and guide you down that path, and, stick to it. Preps are not as short as they used to be for bikini athletes. It used to be, I can get any girl on stage in like 8 to 12 weeks. Yeah. Now it's like 6 months, So if you need to put it on muscle and recomp and all these things, it's probably 6 months, maybe even a year to build up a stage ready physique. If you're already there. Oh yeah. The physique these days, like a pro level physique is probably 3 to 5 years in bikini these days. It used to be 1 to 2 years, but it's probably 3 to 5 years to develop hamstrings and tie-ins and glutes with, the medial glute developed and shoulder caps and back width and all these things. That's not a 1 year physique. That is not a 1 year physique, not even close.
No.
Pro level.
Right. Yeah. For a pro, you're
amateur,
saying.
if you just walk into the gym and you want to get on an NPC stage, it's probably going to take you about a year, maybe 2, depending on your genetics, but that's how sports are. And I think people have an unrealistic expectation because they're like, oh, I'm just going to transform into the show and look like, Maureen in 16 weeks. I'm like, good luck with that. Because Maureen doesn't even look like Maureen in 16 weeks. It took her years to look like that. Yeah.
No, she does not. I'm so glad you said that, because I think a lot of people I know I get inquiries for people that just want to do like, oh, I want to do a show in 12 weeks. I've never worked with this person. They probably have 30 pounds to lose. They don't weight train like consistently. They haven't been. And I'm like, I'm not your coach. You're not the client for me.
We don't play competing.
Yeah.
It's like you play baseball, you play basketball. You don't play competing. You don't do that.
Right.
You prepare for it. It's totally different, So, it's not a ping pong match. So, you're going to need to prepare for it. You need to be ready for it. You're going to need to suffer for it. There's just no way around it in any division these days. There's going to be a little bit of suffering, sacrifice, and it's going to take some time. This is not a fast process these days.
Yeah.
So, but that makes it all the more worth it. It's any sport.
Very rewarding.
Yeah. Any sport worth doing. Like, would you even want to play a sport that anyone can do in 4 months? Like, what would be, how fun would that be? Like, oh, cool. That guy's like, he's winning the show now and he just started playing this sport 3-4 months ago. Like, would that sport even think so? I wouldn't do it. I would be like, everyone stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think because it's like a matter of just like losing weight is what people think, like, oh, I can lose weight and do this thing. And it's like, but what are you going to look like when you do lose the weight? Like we have to build muscle. Like there's a whole process to that more than just losing weight, along with a million other things that go into the final product on stage, the posing, the hair, like everything. It's all an end product of a lot of other factors besides, oh, I just need to lose 30 pounds.
People think that's all it is. Like, oh, if I lose 30 pounds, I'll weigh the same as whoever. I'm like, well, you might weigh the same as whoever,
but you won't look the same.
They have 10 less pounds of fat as you on that same weight. So it's a totally different thing. Yeah. So just take some time, and people have to be realistic with it, especially with today's bikini world. So yeah. So, but it was a different type of different type of podcast for me. I get to be more interviewed and more open about those things, especially that question. I'm glad that I do talk about that sometimes, but I don't get to really like dive into it as much.
No, it was great.
Yeah, that's I think people, it's a unfortunate reality that people need to take in and understand and look at themselves in the mirror and say, so that's the reason that I stopped competing, was that I looked at myself in the mirror one day and I said to myself, even at my best, I've never been as good as any of the guys that are winning overalls at national shows. And I've been a bodybuilder, I've been whatever, right? So like all my years, I think it was like 34, 35 when I stopped, something like that. And I was like, yeah, even they're just genetically, I'm not built like that. My waist isn't that small. My shoulders aren't that wide. And I've never been that big as these men's physique guys are now that are winning these shows. So I need to face that reality. Not willing to, do the drugs to get that big. And I'm not going to go far in the sport. So I need to pick a different sport. That's the reality of things, right? And so, it's a tough thing because I did it my whole life, right? It's a tough thing to say, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something different. I love bodybuilding. I'm still a fan of it. I watch every pro show, every men's physique, bodybuilding show, everything. But I'm just not great at it. I'm just not built for it. I wrestled 119 pounds sometimes, so it's like, I'm a small guy, so when I'm looking at, when you're talking to yourself about it and you're that girl that I was talking about earlier, and you're like, Adam's a jerk. He's saying that, you can't be healthy at any weight. And he's saying that I can't keep gaining 30 pounds. Like, he's wrong. Like, you need to look at yourself and be like, okay. And here's the problem. You might have a couple like genetic people who can do that. And they kind of like they look to them as examples. Understand that that's a genetic freak, right? That's a genetic freak. And they're probably taller than you when they weigh 30 pounds. They're probably bigger than you when they weigh up over 30 pounds. They're probably weighing 150 pounds, 140 pounds on stage, not 100 pounds as a 5-footer or 115 pounds as a 5'5", right? It's a different thing when you gain 30 pounds at 5'3" than at 5'10", 5'9", and have all the muscle in the world. And they're genetically gifted too. And they're 25, right? So it's two different things. So don't use them as your example, but also look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, is he right? Am I really doing the things that I want to do to get the goal that I say I want to achieve, right? And if I'm not, I got to face that reality and also look at things in the long run. The skin tightening thing, the stretch mark, that is a thing. That you're
very much
all
so.
These things matter in bikini. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. That's so mean that you would say that. I'm like, everything matters in bikini. Your hair, your complexion is part of that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're gaining 30 pounds, you're probably gonna have more stretch marks and saggier skin. That is going to be judged. When we talk about the top, when we talk about, the highest level, because beauty flow is in the criteria. Beauty flow, complexion is in the criteria. Your tan, your hair, your makeup, if you think that those aren't going to be factors that are going to be limiting factors, of course they are, so it is what it is. It's a fitness model contest, guys. Like, sorry if it's a tough sport. And if you're, there's a reason that the top 10 look the way they do. Right. Like, you can look at it's so funny because I'm like, look at the top 10. Do any of them look like, like they're doing this stuff? Like, it's kind of, it's kind of obvious. But that stuff matters. Some people can get away with it. I'll admit that. And you don't want to hang on to them because it's very rare and it's very specific and it's a genetic freak and they can get away with it, but they probably can't get away with it forever. And you don't want to look at them as like, oh, I'm going to be like that. Because you can't just be like someone genetically.
No,
I wish
they're the outliers.
Exactly. I would, because if I could be like anyone, I'd probably be like, who would I be like? I'd probably be like Flex Wheeler. I'd be like, I'm going to just be like Flex Wheeler. Yeah. Okay. I think concentrating on that for a second.
Does not work that easily.
You can't be like, you're given your genetics. They are what they are. And you work with whatever clay you were given. You put it in the good hands of a good artist and he can mold it as the way he can.
But there's only so far. Yeah.
There's only so much things you can do. There's only so much clay you gave me, So, but try to do the best you can with it and face your reality,
I love that. So perfect place to end the podcast. Thank you so much for being on. How can everybody find you? Like, give us your socials, the websites, all the things.
So I am at Team Elite Physique on everything, basically. So teamelitephysique.com, Team Elite Physique on Instagram, youtube.com/Team Elite Physique. I do reviews every week, on almost every bikini show. After the show, usually by Wednesday, I'll do a bikini review.
Those are great.
Yeah, I'm at shows all the time. And, I
Bikini in the Brain podcast. Can't forget that.
Yes, and Bikini in the Brain podcast. But thank you for keeping that. I should have definitely.
I'll link everything up. Don't you worry. I got you, boo.
Yeah. So, the podcast has been really fun. We're like 160 or so episodes, and I don't even know where we're at this point.
That's great.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. It's been fun. So
Yeah. Awesome.
Anyway, cool. But yeah, thanks
Well,
for having
thank
me
you
on.
so much. That was such a great chat. And I will see you over on the gram. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Bye. See you later.
Bye. Boss bitch. Thank you for listening to Boss Bitch Radio. It would mean the world to me if you could rate and review the podcast. If you could give us a 5-star review on iTunes, drop us a little comment. We will read those, and we offer prizes as a ethical bribe for you to leave us some great mojo and words of affirmation. You know, that is my love language. And also, if you're over on Spotify, you can rate and review it there as well. All of this helps other women, other people, other folks see us, hear us, and learn from all of the amazing Boss Bitch tools and hacks, and hopefully get some LOLs. And if not, if anything, if you could share this with one person, I'd love you forever. And I know you are just here for my undying love. And last but not least, please, 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 please come find me over on Instagram so we can be buddies. We can be Insta fam over there. I am Diane Flores _IFBB_pro. Come say hi, drop me a DM, let me know what you think of the podcast. I'm always open for new suggestions and feedback as well. And I hope you listen again soon.